What is going on, Crisis Actors? It is episode 1048. I was like looking at my phone. I should have done the intro where I go, oh, hello, Crisis Actors. How are you all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Like I said, it is episode 1048 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I have actually fallen ill since Monday, but I'm powering through. That might be why I'm not as loud and exuberant as my usual self today.
I can do that part.
It's also suitably overcast and gloomy outside, so after this, my plans are eating chicken noodle soup and watching the rain. It's gonna be impeccable vibes.
Wait, do you have like a windowsill that you can do the thing where you sit in the windowsill? That always felt like a product of the
I don't.
You know, it's a product of the movies where somebody has a windowsill big enough that they can sit in the windowsill with like one leg up with their cup of coffee on their knee. None of my windows can do that.
Growing up, one of my bedrooms, we moved out of this place eventually, but one of my bedrooms did have like an, what is that even called? An awning? Whatever it was like a part of the slanted roof where it was like not steep enough where you'd fall off. So I could sit on my roof outside my bedroom. Wow. That was pretty cool. That's also a very like movie thing to have outside your bedroom.
I love it. I've been watching these old episodes of Cold Case and these stories about like, you know, inevitably bad things happen to teenagers when they sneak out of the house when they're not supposed to. And I'm like, all of these kids live on the first floor. I don't buy that. No way they were living on the first floor of their house. They were living upstairs in their parents' suburban.
But isn't the trope that they
climb down from the tree?
Yeah, climbing down from the tree or having a secret ladder or rope or something, you know,
just make it themselves.
Something totally implausible, or their friends like bring them a ladder.
You see, this is why society has fallen apart, because back in the day, that kid would have to build that ladder themselves with like with like the spines of books and dental floss. Now they just order it on Amazon. Like I bet you if we went to Amazon right now, I could buy a rope ladder if I really wanted to.
Exactly.
We got a bunch of 20s there. Can you see those there?
Yes, we do. I don't want to forget to get to these. First from Katie, I want to report to Brett and Mary that Sneeko has been deported from my country. The Aussies people did not welcome him. The Prime Minister, who loves Islam, did bring him here. USA, have him back. I didn't know he was in Australia.
Unfortunately,
in the first place.
You have triggered the no takesy backsy clause, and you're gonna have to keep him.
Yeah, I don't know if we really need Sneeko in the U.S. either, but I didn't know he was in Australia or that he moved there or whatever.
Is there like
that
a
is odd, though.
world tour?
He's very passionate about his Muslim faith, so I think he'd find a great community in Australia. Shane H. Wilder next said, Happy Wednesday, Brett and Mary. Besides CNN, the late Ted Turner also created TCM and tried to colorize black and white movies. When he tried to colorize Citizen Kane, Orson Welles said, tell Ted to keep his MFing crayons off my films.
TCM is Turner Classic Movies. Yeah, I was... so my main exposure to Ted Turner has always been, obviously, that he created CNN. And obviously, it goes back in the day to the Monday Night Wars with WWE, you know, because they, you know, he owned WCW back in the day. And I did, like, before we went live, I read this very long retrospective article on his life from Variety. He lived an absolutely fascinating life, and he is kind of that last bastion story of a guy who took his dad's business and like ramped it up 100 million fold, and was one of the, from the article that I was reading, was one of the first real people, celebrities, who decided to give tons of money away while he was alive, as opposed to what was popular at the time, which was that you gave a lot of your wealth away in your will. He gave billions away to charity, and he lived a fascinating life. It's I actually pinned the comment with the link to the article in the live chat for today's episode if anybody wants to go read it. He is one of those last titans of media where now it feels like everything's been sold off to conglomerates that maybe didn't own it from the start. He was, I imagine, Rupert Murdoch is still alive, right? Am I wrong about that? He won't get such a glowing write-up when he dies?
I think he is.
I think so.
Wait, let me just fact check that.
I imagine that
Real
Rupert
quick.
Murdoch, because of the Fox connection, will not get the same. Right.
Wow, he was born in 1931.
He's gonna live forever.
That man is old. He's 95.
He's older than Turner.
Wow.
I think Turner was in his mid 80s. So, you know.
Crazy.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Ted Turner. You lived a fantastic life.
We have another one from Badump Bash. Happy Whopper Wednesday. Gonna get an early start on thiamine Thursday by eating my B vitamins today.
Thiamine, right? I think it's
thiamine. I don't know how to pronounce this stuff. I am personally vitamin C maxing today because I'm sick. I know it's a pseudoscientific myth that taking vitamin C when you're sick helps in any way whatsoever, but those gummies are just so addicting that I'm just going to keep telling myself that it's making a difference.
It'll be your own version of during COVID when the memes were going around about how people wouldn't get COVID because they ate Flintstone vitamins when they were a kid.
I ate those vitamins as a kid and, to my knowledge, never got COVID. At least not, like, on a test strip. I got tested for COVID one time.
Yeah.
Because I had to travel to Ireland in 2021.
And they tested you then?
Yeah, I got the nasal, like, you know, thing, the swab. That sucked. But other than that, I never would have gotten tested anyway. Like, I didn't understand why people were so paranoid about getting it. And I would just, like, get it and suffer and move on with my life.
There you go. That's what it is. We got a bunch of stuff to get into today, ladies and gentlemen, so hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you've not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share the episode out with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people in your life that you like, the people in your life that you don't like. The more people that you share it with, the faster the channel can grow. So thank you guys so much for that. What are we getting into today? We are going to talk about the Odyssey. Mary contends that it is an uncanny valley because of all the celebrities who have all their plastic surgery making it feel not very much like a Greek epic, right?
And Elliot Page. Elliot Page being Elliot Page adds to the uncanniness of it all. It's quite disturbing, the stills that we're seeing come out from the recent trailer.
I personally thought the trailer was perfectly fine in its construction. There was one shot that felt painfully big blue green screen roomy. I don't know if it was, but that's just my own kind of interpretation of it, but I thought the trailer kind of followed. I realized, unless I'm much mistaken, he uses like, he has a signature text for his trailers that is the same, because I rewatched
a font like
yes, he has a font that I believe he uses for all his, maybe not for the actual title of the movie, but for the like on July 20 whatever. Like it looked like the same one I remember from when the Dark Knight trailer came out. Maybe it's just very similar but not the same. But
imagine if it were just like Times New Roman, or what is that other one called? The one that they used to put on all the massage envies.
Oh, it's I always make fun of it. Yeah, it is literally the massage envy text. What's it called?
It's gonna kill me.
It's not Helvetica. It's
no, it's not Helvetica. It's gonna kill me if I can't.
Guys, what's the massage parlor font? You guys know what we're talking about here. I've tweeted this before.
Comic Sans. It is. Oh my gosh! Why can't I find it?
It's not Comic Sans.
This is going to.
It's the one that's. It's like if you were trying to do something mystical. Like,
does it start with an L?
No, it's not. No.
Wait.
Papyrus. Yes, Papyrus.
Yes, Papyrus.
And it became a meme because of Avatar.
Yes. Imagine if Nolan did the Papyrus font in all of his trailers. I think that would actually be kind of cool.
So one of the rare wins from SNL was when they did the Papyrus Ryan Gosling one, and then they did a follow-up when Avatar 2 came out with like it's just Papyrus in bold.
Yeah.
This graphic designer, he just selected it from a pull-down menu and went with it.
Graphic design is my passion.
So we are going to talk about the Odyssey. I just went off on a sidetrack there. We are also going to talk about Melissa Barrera, who, ladies and gentlemen, this might be the most sour grapes interview. I tweeted, "Sour grapes make bad wine," with an H, because this is the most sour grapes interview I've ever seen, and all she does is whine the entire time. We're going to get into it. It's actually kind of fascinating how much she doesn't take, like, charge of the situation and puts everything on everyone else. If you're wondering why Melissa Barrera would do that, obviously we've covered extensively on this channel. I did a lot of solo videos about kind of the fallout with Scream 7, which went on to be a great success because Jenna Ortega split. They got rid of Melissa Barrera because of comments she made about Palestine. And the director left.
Would you say that blacklisted is an appropriate way to describe what happened to her, or
given how big,
overstating it?
I think that's overstating it. Given how big the list is of like artists for Gaza and artists for a ceasefire is, there has to be more to it than that. And to be honest, if the interview is any indication, she's an annoying person to be around. Sorry to say.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into all of that. We're also going to talk about the creeping issue of Manosphere divorce. Manosphere figureheads like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Not my
by the way,
words.
I swear that we did a segment, I think with Tate. It might have also been with Phil. I'm not totally sure. Last year about this same topic, but
yes, we did. At some point we did.
It escapes my memory. It was some article that had a ton of anonymous interviews with women who claim Manosphere content crept into the lives of their boyfriends or husbands, brainwashed them, and ruined their relationships.
I can actually see this happening, if I'm being completely honest. Like the story of the, and to be honest, when I was reading the article, it would be horrifying. Like,
I mean, terminally online feminism has ruined plenty of relationships too. This is just the new phenomenon.
No, but the thing is, though, is terminally online feminism and feminism in general has been such a part of culture for so long that the chances of her finding it after you've been together for a long period of time is just non-existent.
Yeah.
Whereas I could actually see a dude being like, you know, somewhat normal, and then like 3 weeks in, or like 3 months into the relationship, he's like, do the dishes, bitch.
His algorithm just takes a turn for the worse. We have another 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. When ex-wife Jane Fonda played the CEO in HBO's The Newsroom, she used Ted as the template for her badass performance.
Yeah, the article write-up said like fewer careers have entailed this many like high risk, high reward situations that ended up working out for him, which is a tacit admission, though the article doesn't realize it's doing it, of why they'll never be on the proper side of capitalism, because they never seem to point out the risk that the people with tons of money take. Thank you.
Thank you, guy. Starting off strong here. The only reason I learned that the newsroom existed is because of that clip that always gets circulated on
Jeff
X
Daniels,
every 6 months.
America
or so.
Was never great.
Right, that one. But I know nothing else about the show or what it's about.
I love that clip because every time it gets posted, Seamus goes blue in the face hating that clip, which I can appreciate.
Is it worth watching the show? Is it any good?
Olivia would say yes. Olivia liked that show. Again, but then again, it's an Aaron Sorkin product, I believe, and she's a big fan of The West Wing. In spite of the fact that it's all liberal propaganda, she's like, I like it in spite of the liberal propaganda, which I can like. It's funny because you know me, I'm the same way, but something about the characters in those shows, it doesn't work for me the same way it does for other people. But it is important
make
to
some great shows sometimes.
Yep.
That's true.
Well, I mean, at the very least, I can acknowledge the technical proficiency of how good they are at creating them. Like, even if the dialogue isn't for me, it's like when I was younger, I thought I liked Scandal. But then Shonda Rhimes' writing, regardless of its like or like weirdly like anti-white sentiment a lot of the times, like I liked the way the writing was basically nobody speaks like a normal person. Everybody speaks in monologue, which was interesting at the time, but doesn't interest me now. But I wasn't attached to Scandal the way she was to The West Wing. It would be like me not liking House, which I do love. So, it is what it is. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into. So if you're ready to go, we can just go. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go for it.
So, Botox injections and cosmetic procedures, plastic surgeries in general, are a scourge on modern entertainment. And we're about to show you the most recent example of that. We just saw the first look of the Odyssey in the most recent trailer, and a specific still of Anne Hathaway is going viral right now because she is seen trying desperately to make a facial expression of distress or anger. I really can't tell.
You know what
And
I
it
see?
looks like it's just not happening.
Her forehead looks like it would make the sound of duct tape opening.
Yeah, it looks painful, honestly, to try to make this expression of anger or distress and just not be able to move your freaking forehead. She's not able to. But in this other still, you see her furrowing her eyebrows, and there are 11 lines there. So I have to say, people are zeroing in on that one still more than another one, which doesn't look as bad.
Is it possible that she could have just been raised? Like, she's not scrunching her eyebrows, she's raising them, so it actually doesn't.
She's raising her eyebrows, but there are no lines when she raises her eyebrows, as you can see.
You know,
so I mean, that's also a little off-putting. Like, you can see she has paralyzed some of the muscles in her face to a degree that atrophies them over time. So even if you lapse on your frequency of Botox injections over time, it still does affect your ability to emote. And that is, like, you know, essential to acting. Crazy, right?
So
there is this post from X user Steven. There's a side-by-side comparison. This is a still of Anne Hathaway where she, you know, is able to cry on camera. And in this one, it's just missing something, it's a key ingredient. And I want to mention, this is an interesting detail. People found out that certain actresses time their Botox appointments.
I was fascinated by this.
Yeah. And Amanda Seyfried is one of my favorite actresses, and she has done this. They time their Botox appointments strategically to avoid having recent injections while filming a movie. And Amanda Seyfried said, you can plan your treatments around when you're able to emote on set. She, you know, she said you can avoid having this frozen forehead problem, and you can only get Botox when you're about to go on award show season or a promotional tour for a project rather than while you're filming it.
She should teach a course.
Now, even that isn't a foolproof solution because, as I said, even if you lapse on your Botox for a brief period of time, it is still going to affect your face after the fact because your muscles, while they've been paralyzed artificially, have atrophied, and you're still you still have a weaker control over your facial expressions afterwards. So it has a lasting effect over time. Just last week, we were talking about Sydney Sweeney getting praised even by her most vocal haters for her forehead movements in the new season of Euphoria. And they compared her to this other character she's in the middle of an argument with, who is trying to look angry and shocked, and she has Botox that make it impossible for her to perform that way. Meanwhile, Sydney Sweeney has these, like, incredible lines on her forehead. It's such a novel concept that get her performance to resonate with people far more. The difference here being the character that she was talking to in that scene in Euphoria is someone who in real life probably would have Botox. So it's not nearly as bad as this example where Anne Hathaway is in the Odyssey. This is an ancient story. There is no context that makes a Botox face or an iPhone face, as they're often called, appropriate. So it takes you out of the story. It really hurts the immersion. And it gives people uncanny valley vibes where they just cannot buy into the story. And yeah, this is like what period dramas look like now.
You know what the guy's version of the Amanda Seyfried thing is? So Chris Evans and Anthony Mackie would talk on the set of Marvel movies how right before they would go do their big action scenes, they would literally be lifting to make sure that their arms had a pump right before they went to record. Chris Evans, I think...
And they'd be dehydrated as well.
Yes. I think the Chris Evans story was that, like, right before he did the helicopter scene in Winter Soldier, where he literally pulls a helicopter back to a building with his bare hands by holding a railing and then the base of the helicopter and pulls it back, and, like, you just literally see his arms just exploding out of his t-shirt, that he was, like, lifting weights right before he went to do that. Which is why sometimes you'll end up seeing if it's a movie that's not made well and there's a lot of reshoots, there'll be vastly different sizes at times, and only the most eagle-eyed of person will know the difference. But the men have their own version of this. They need to learn to time it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we might get to this on Friday, talking about Olivia Wilde's recent image discourse. People were blaming Ozempic, they were blaming Botox, they were blaming buccal fat removal. They couldn't really decide what exactly was the culprit behind her disturbing appearance the other day, but she also appeared at the Met Gala, and people are using that to confirm their suspicions. I think it's just not believable.
You found a picture of her from like 2008.
My point the other day was that you're only gonna get praised for not getting Botox when you're still young, and you aren't somebody who has been put in the position where people are criticizing you for having wrinkles yet. And Billie Eilish recently spoke on this. She went on Amy Poehler's podcast. This is what she said. She said, "I'm so excited to age, and I'm so excited for my face to age and for my body to age and not change it. And I want my kids to look at me and have my face look like their face and not be some botched version of whatever the F is going on out there right now." So she didn't name any names, but she's throwing some major shade at people who are getting Botox and other procedures in their later years. Meanwhile, she's like 24 years old. I just don't really think you have credibility on the subject yet once, before you're in that position. Before you actually get wrinkles, I don't really want to hear you preach to people in their late 30s, their 40s or 50s, about how they're doing something so ethically questionable by getting it. I will give praise to people who actually, put their money where their mouth is, in the sense that, Olivia Wilde is getting shit on right now because she is in her, what is she, like 42 years old?
Yes.
She is in her 40s now, and as far as I can tell, has not gotten any of these anti-aging procedures, and she's getting shit on for it. So until you're in that position, I'm not going to give you your flowers for preaching on it. Like, that's how I feel. Especially with, like, Sydney Sweeney, for instance. She's also saying the same things that Billie Eilish said, that she's not going to get Botox, she's not going to get fillers, etc. But she is still in her 20s, and that could change. And your circumstances change, and the jobs that you're offered change, and your commercial success is affected by how you look in an industry like this. So I don't think that it's fair that only women in their 20s get praised for not getting Botox.
I'm not getting Botox until I'm no longer on camera. I'm going to be the hipster of it. I'm going to go back to working a regular job, and then I'm going to start getting Botox and facial fillers.
Well, I mean, we'll see if that's gonna look good on you.
I will say for Olivia Wilde that, so I got a message the other night from somebody from Colonel Kurt, saying that she thought it looked like Olivia Wilde's face looked different, and like under the eyes, she's aging. She's in her 40s. Like, I don't see anything. I don't think that was anything that crazy. I did think that she was right in saying that she looked very skinny, but then we looked at a picture of her from a red carpet in 2008, and she's always been sort of
visible chest bones.
Yeah, like
very tiny arms. She's always been very skinny, very small chest. She is just built that way. She's just getting older, and I don't know. It's just odd that the people who are preaching about, like, aging gracefully see it happen in real time and blame it on plastic surgery. That's just what a woman starts to look like in her 40s. She has under eye bags. If she went and got a consultation with what is his name? The famous plastic surgeon, Dr. Steve something.
I don't know.
You know, he would tell her to get a fox eye lift, probably. A blepharoplasty. He would advise her to get these procedures done. Obviously she hasn't. So is that something that we should be mad about? I thought that was like what we wanted.
It's like you said, it's a virtue signal, and then when it's not, they're like, what the hell happened to this person? And meanwhile they're like 30 years older.
Yeah.
I
like,
mean, Olivia Wilde's
happens,
not, but time happens.
Okay?
Yeah. There's a 20 there from Shane H. Wilder. He says, you guys got into my head. I had to look it up or lose my mind. An area you can sit or stand on outside an upstairs window is called a widow's walk. And the area for sitting in some dining room windows is called a banquette. Oh, your mic cut out. Mic cut out. While I'm waiting for her to reconnect, Corn Pop is over here saying that I need some Botox because I've got some wrinkles in my forehead and I'm only 30. Look, that's okay. I'm okay with having the wrinkles up here. That's fine. That way I can emote and you can understand when I'm feeling different at any given time. What would it be like if I was doing stuff and this is just flat up there the whole time?
Yeah.
It wouldn't look good.
Yeah, stop bullying Brett, okay? He's aging gracefully.
I am, however, going to get the surgery that separates my eyes, though, so they're less close together.
If they eventually innovate enough to
Yes.
come up with one. I want to mention there is also a first look at Elliot Page in the new trailer for the Odyssey, and it's still under wraps what character she is playing.
She's kind of looking like Christian Bale in the beginning of Batman Begins. I'm not going to lie.
I have no idea what I'm looking at here. I guess that they just covered her in mud and turned all the lights off.
Hold on,
and hope that no one would notice.
I have to see if I can, Christopher.
That's a chick. You know, people are saying that they're trying to basically cover her up as much as possible so that she looks less obviously female. But who knows? Maybe it makes sense when we see the full movie.
Oh, there's no
why she's covered in dirt.
There's no screenshots of it. I was looking for a screenshot of like the scene where Christian Bale is covered in mud after getting thrown out of like the wagon horse in Batman Begins, but sadly I wasn't able to find one.
Okay. That is another thing that really takes you out of the movie, though. If we're to see Elliot Page, like, you know, with the lights on, I don't think that's really helpful to the immersion of the story to see someone who is on HRT. There's John Leguizamo. There's also Charlize Theron.
So the real question here is, guys, I saw some people mention that there's race, that there's not race swaps, I guess, but that they're showing
well, they are race swaps.
non-Greeks. And
that is, I mean, it's not non-Greeks, okay? It's just like, no one believes that Lupita Nyong'o is Aphrodite,
or Zendaya,
okay?
Or Zendaya. So my point was like, but then are we to also be mad because they're all using American accents? Even Robert Pattinson is doing an American accent in the trailer. Do we get mad about something like? Sorry, I need the update. What am I supposed to be mad at here? Somebody let me know. What am I supposed to be mad at today?
Well, I don't think that would be a great analogy, to be honest. But I must say, it is really cool that Passion of the Christ was filmed in Aramaic and Latin for the sake of immersion into the story and the history. However, if they filmed the entirety of the Odyssey in Greek, I think a lot of people would probably just not go and see it in theaters.
Yep. That's
because it's, you know, it's just kind of part of our like cultural laziness.
Yeah.
We don't want to think too hard.
Yeah.
I guess that involves reading subtitles too.
I mean, I don't know. Like that's interesting though, because there's I'm not an anime guy, but there's a whole culture around the idea of dub versus sub that people are very, very passionate about. I want both. Like we watched this show called Sue Thomas FBI, and she's deaf, and she's they do a lot of they take a lot of opportunities to kind of bring attention to like some of the issues that might face a deaf person, even one that can read lips and talk normally. and she's talking about it like with her roommate. She's like, I always have to have the subtitles on. Some people don't like that. I'm like, this show was so made in 2000 because now every kid would be like, bussin', no cap. I want the subtitles on.
I do have the subtitles on these days. Part of the reason for that is because in all of these new shows, the lights are turned off. You can barely see the movements of their mouths, and they're whispering and muttering to themselves the whole time. It's very mumblecore. So you need the subtitles in some of these cases. But I still think that if they did this movie in Greek, people would be less excited about seeing it. I don't know. Maybe we'll... I don't know. It's like maybe they could use AI for a different for the Greek version. People would freak out about that.
I bet you Christopher Nolan has some really, really nuanced takes on AI. I bet you he doesn't say FAI.
Let me look it up. Let's find out what he thinks about AI.
I would be interested to know if he's ever spoken out. Actually, it'd be really funny if he was just like FAI. Considering his brother was the one responsible for Person of Interest.
I see in 2023, Christopher Nolan says AI dangers have been apparent for years. He said press covered it more once chatbots threatened their jobs. Suddenly, it's a crisis. He's criticizing the code. Yeah.
They can never make me hate him. Ryan Matthews says, Brett, Travis Scott is gonna play a poem reciter in it. They're gonna do a rap during the movie. I can't wait. It's gonna be hilarious.
This is gonna be bizarre.
It's gonna be weird, but the thing is Nolan has a dedicated fan base, and as long as he has all the IMAX screenings, the movie's gonna do fine. Even if he's strongly against AI, my point is more that he's not like one of these dudes who's so impotent he loses his ability to form a cohesive argument and say FAI, which is what they all do. They all say F Trump, FAI, and F ICE because there are certain topics that make people so upset they don't know how to formulate a rebuttal. They just know how to swear.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to one of the IMAX screenings and stand outside the door, like, begging people to sell me their spot.
Do it.
Because I realized that they were sold out, like, months ago.
Yeah.
And I really want to see it in IMAX.
There's a 20 here.
I'm going to be a cinephile for one day.
There's a 20 here from Kyle Dixon. It says, I think Elliot Page is playing Achilles, and the mud scene is where Odysseus sees they, them in the underworld.
I guess we'll find out.
We will have to wait and see. All right, let's move on.
Before we get into discussing any of the controversies about the Met Gala, I think it's our responsibility to conduct a wellness check for Snow White, Miss Rachel Zegler. She showed up at the event making some incredibly strange jaw movements.
No, she's mewing.
The red carpet. And now this has caused rumors to circulate that she showed up to the event high on some sort of drug. People are saying it could be Molly. It could
high
be
on
cocaine.
Sling Blade. It ain't got no gas in it.
They think she's gurning, right? That's the term for it. It makes you clench your jaw and make bizarre movements.
But she's not clenching her jaw. She's separating her jaw and sticking out the bottom.
She's going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's been seen doing this on red carpets before.
Yes. Yes, she has.
I think, like many girls Rachel Zegler's age, she just has a really bizarre idea of what it means to be sexy, and this is her way of trying to smolder at the cameras. Personally, I don't think that she showed up to the Met Gala high on Molly.
She probably
but that's just my take.
Call Jonathan Majors. He knows.
Yeah, she needs to go to the Jonathan Majors School of Smoldering to find out from the experts how to do it properly. But yeah, this is, I think, just her trying to be sexy and mysterious.
Yes.
I don't know. She used to go on red carpets and go like pog face. Like, she would go like...
She did the Jennifer Lawrence.
Because she has a huge mouth. I'm sure it helps her sing. But
there was a post at one point where they said, like, for every 1,000 likes I'll add more teeth to her face or something like that.
She has a dolphin mouth. She has a dolphin smile. She did it in Snow White as well. People were making fun of her for making weird jaw movements while singing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's probably just a technique. And say what you will about Rachel Zegler's personality or her political views, everyone knows that she is great at singing. That is her strong suit.
It is.
Yeah, if she could just sing for the rest of her career, we would all be happy with that. But aside from any of the Rachel Zegler rumors, I want to get into some of the controversies related to the Met Gala. I posted about this on Instagram yesterday. I also posted about Sarah Paulson on X.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people talking about this specific look on the red carpet where she is wearing a dollar bill mask over her eyes.
We talked about it yesterday.
You see the little eye holes?
I pointed out yesterday, I said she's cheating because she's got holes in the dollar bills.
She should have had someone like walking her around the event like that the whole time. But this is actually
it looks real, which I think makes this a crime. I don't think you're allowed to deface American money.
No, you can see the sheen on it. It's made of plastic.
Weak.
Yeah, you can see the light reflecting off of it.
Weak.
But what you guys should know is this is a reference to a runway piece from Paris Fashion Week. It was presented by a fashion house called Fecal Matter, okay? And their entire show was themed around basically class warfare.
Yeah.
They featured Brian Johnson, actually, as one of the runway models.
The guy who wants to live forever?
Yes.
No way.
It was about the bourgeoisie and transhumanism and biotech. It was all very fascinating. I'm sure Sarah Paulson would have thoughts on it. But people's main gripe with this is that Sarah Paulson herself is not just in the 1%, but in the 0.0001% as someone with a net worth estimated at $12 million, who is only able to attend an event like the Met Gala because she has the money to drop on a ticket, which is $100,000, and pay for an entire team of stylists who provide all of the attire for the guests. She doesn't own anything that she's wearing. She's wearing fine jewelry and couture that she didn't buy herself. This is stuff that they're renting out. They have makeup teams and hair teams and social media teams following them around all night. They're spending a lot of money to be there. And because although the Met Gala has, declined in relevance and prestige in recent years, it still is an event for people to promote themselves. And they're sniffing their own farts. They're all pretentious. They think they're really deep and artistic, and I understand exactly why that's so obnoxious, but clapping back at this by saying that it's hypocritical and saying that she is exactly who she is calling out as the 1%, I do think that that is an ideological defeat. If you're conceding to the point that that wealth is inherently evil, and that the 1% are intrinsically evil, and that it's wrong to earn and keep your own money, you're really conceding to their entire leftist framework.
Actually, I don't know.
Like that. It's like when someone calls you racist, and your response is, no, I'm not racist.
On its face, I would agree with you, but I would disagree on one point, which is that they are not that to who, they don't believe that of themselves, which is why they've spent the last 5 to 7 years separating the word billionaire with a B, because they don't believe themselves to be the rich or the 1%. Whatever you want to say about what $12 million means, they're not talking about millionaires. They are talking about billionaires, which is why they turned it into an other, which is why to them, they're not hypocritical. Therefore, there is no ideological subversion going on. They're not actually breaking their own ethos.
That is true, but similarly, when a leftist calls you racist for bogus reasons, and you rightfully call out that they are in fact racist by the definition of the word because they hate white people for being white, they also don't believe themselves to be racist. So it's not even that. They
don't believe it's possible. They don't believe it's actually possible to be racist.
Yes, exactly. But I'm just saying it is an analog there, and it's not worth walking right into their leftist dialectical trap by responding that way. And I've also noticed a lot of people on both the left and the right are seemingly in agreement this year about the Met Gala because Bezos and his wife by association are sponsoring the event. And they provided an endowment of over $10 million to sponsor the night and have some control over it.
And they raised the most money in Met Gala history, from what I understand. About $42 million was raised.
That, I believe, was $11 million more than the year before. And we already said this on Monday, and you reiterated it yesterday, but it's worth saying again that the Met Gala is not just a party.
No.
It's not a party that just exists for its own sake. It is, not just in name, a fundraising event for the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And that is the reason why they charge so much for tickets. That is the reason why they have sponsors for the event. And that is the reason why they incentivize celebrities to attend as a self-promotional opportunity as well, because otherwise they wouldn't show up. So the Met Gala exists in principle to make it possible for, you know, non-rich people and non-famous people to attend the Met Museum and see the costume art exhibit that it supports. And they can, if you're a New York resident, I believe this is still true, you can pay what you wish when you show up at the museum, which means you can show up with a penny in your pocket and go in and you can see ancient Greek statues, medieval Catholic art, and Van Gogh paintings in there because it was paid forward. And like, that matters, and that is good for society.
That was the point I made yesterday, was that, I guess the point I made this morning, and I can kind of connect it to the point I made yesterday, was that the right can't fund art at all because the right doesn't actually view it as anything important. They can fundraise for politics perfectly well. The left is so dominant that they get funding from people they don't even like from people they hate. They're actually angry at Jeff Bezos, and he's giving them millions and millions of dollars. And art is important. Now, I fully admitted yesterday, I said, look, I don't get this personally, whether it's because I'm a dude, whether it's because fashion doesn't matter to me, whether it's because it's a type of art that doesn't, you know, speak to me. But I talk all the time about how we see straw mans about what acting is. And I talk all the time about how I believe that movies and television, when they're done really, really well, are great and important works of art. And I do think that it matters. I think that as a society, you use great policy to build a strong society, and then you use art to make society beautiful. I do think that all of those things are important. It's just that for the most part, the idea of the messenger still matters. And as long as these people have turned class warfare into the dominant talking point of the day, you're not going to see people giving any quarter to to people that look like Batman villains. You're just not. And the thing is, they don't care. It's like when I always point out that Defiant L's, the Instagram page, doesn't actually serve a purpose because they point out liberal hypocrisy in tweets. They don't care because the only thing that matters is power. The only thing that matters is the revolution. To them, though, I would argue that the people we're seeing here, like I said earlier, I don't think that they see any hypocrisy in their worldview because they're not billionaires, they're millionaires. I do think all of it matters. I do agree with you on that. But I do understand that, you know, the average person who doesn't think of it, like, the only reason I think about it this much is because my job requires me to think about it more. But if I was just watching movies and TV and I wasn't paying attention to this stuff at the level that we do to do this show, all it would look like is stupid rich hypocrites. And I can't blame people for taking it that way. And the celebrities deserve everything that's coming to them when they get their, you know, the licking they get online for all of this stuff.
Yeah, the optics are terrible, obviously. That doesn't even need to be said. It looks terrible.
I do think that talking to the people who are in charge of fundraising would be fascinating because they have to deal with, like, you know, like, if you're
the politics of it all.
I'm sure it's a woman, right? Like, it's probably a woman in charge, And she's going around looking for donors. Bezos says, I'll do it. She's like, I'll get back to you. And then she goes and asks like 30 other people first because she doesn't, she knows the crap storm that's going to come from Bezos. Or is she just brutal in her understanding that money doesn't grow on trees and she better take it where she can get it?
Yeah. And I think that's a perfectly valid trade-off to make, by the way. But I feel caught in the middle here because I have people on the right saying that art doesn't matter and that artists are all filth and that this is the exhibit is a hostile attack on America, rural America. And then people on the left saying that basically all rich people are bad and should face the wall. And I'm in the middle saying this is an example of a rich person who admittedly is not my cup of tea doing something that with his money that is good for society. And if you think that the Met would exist without people like him, you're delusional. And the people going into the Met paying a penny, or if you're a tourist paying like $20 for the admission fee, they are not paying for the salaries of people who work there.
Yep.
They are not paying for the preservation of the artwork that is in that building. And it's only possible for the general public to have access to that because of donations from wealthy people. That's how that works. Sometimes when something is free, it's because you're the product, right?
Yep.
Other times something is free because someone paid your way in. And this is that situation. But you're right that they will receive funding from people they hate. In fact, Variety just published this piece titled "How the Met Gala Transformed into the Tacky Bezos Ball." For decades, the first Monday in May has marked one of fashion's biggest nights as A-listers from around the world descend upon the Metropolitan Museum of Art to attend the Met Gala. Since 2021, the first gala post-pandemic, its prestigious crown has started to slip. A wave of influencer integration in the 2021 and 2022 editions saw the gala transition from one of prestige and exclusivity to TikTok fodder. As influencers lost their footing at the gala, however, a new fear started to emerge: corporations and the moguls running them rising to the fore. It was announced that Jeff Bezos and his wife, Lauren Sanchez, would serve as honorary chairs for the evening. They'd spent at least $10 million to sponsor the event and earn the uber-wealthy couple that coveted title. The Met's website prominently highlights how this year's exhibition and gala have been made possible by the couple. Critics were quick to point out the sheer irony of their involvement, given that Amazon was at the forefront of the modern fast fashion industry, and its presence in the marketplace led to a rapid decline in clothing quality, with consumers, as a result of broader economic strains, being forced to prioritize lower price points over fashion and ethics. The Bezoses have directly harmed the artists and artisans they have paid a pretty penny to stand alongside. To add fuel to the fire, the plot of The Devil Wears Prada 2 echoes the long-standing rumors that the couple wishes to acquire Condé Nast, the parent company of several major publications, including Vogue. Despite all this, the Costume Institute, Anna Wintour, and Condé Nast have thus far been willing to overlook everything in the name of staying afloat.
You get a 20
and that was really what they indicted.
You got 20 here from Pop Culture Junkie. It says, one of my more enjoyable times in New York was going through the Met with the TV station art director who really knew her art history. In addition to having played at Wimbledon, learned a lot about art that afternoon. There you go. Made a memory for someone.
Yeah, well, that's the delusional premise of The Devil Wears Prada 2, is that you can keep these publications like the fictional Runway, which represents Vogue in the movie, afloat by basically having a hands-off approach and letting people commandeer it for their own purposes. But in reality, especially in this example, they made a worthy trade-off in their eyes for the fundraising opportunity to associate with Jeff Bezos. And he's not a perfect person. I'm not a fan of his. I'm just saying, when he does something good, why can't we call balls and strikes? Like, I don't really understand the problem with what he did here.
Well, your other contention was that the right has turned a lot of these discussions into parody as well, correct?
Yeah. In my post yesterday, I have people commenting like, well, all of these people are PDF files, and they all eat babies. They were all on the Epstein list, blah, blah, blah. And also these bizarre, baseless claims that the exhibit, which is being fundraised for, contains artwork that I guess displays hostility toward conservative values. But none of these people have even looked at the exhibit itself. Mm-hmm. And I did, and I found the relevant context, and I think that it's a great exhibit. And it pairs artwork from, I mean, all across the centuries, and pairs it with handcrafted couture pieces. I think it's really well done, and I would love to go see it in person if I lived there or had the opportunity. But it's just like this weird convergence is happening where people who profess to be on both the right and the left are being consumed by a similar hatred toward the wealthy just because they're wealthy.
And I think that for the right, it goes more into the realm of like the cronyist politicians, even more so, where it's like everybody's become a caricature and a parody of just the most obscene evil you've ever heard of, and you just lay that claim at the foot of anybody you don't like.
Yeah, and the left does that, but then when the right does it, they just add an extra footnote about how they're eating babies too. Like, I don't really want to engage with that level of discussion because I think reality is a lot more interesting. And like they are in favor of abortion, which is murder. Is that not entertaining enough of a story? Like, that's reality. I think that's interesting enough to talk about without going off the rails.
There's even something funny about the idea that the article points out that it started going off the rails when they started including influencers, which I think most people on the right would probably hate the influencers as well too. But it would still be seen by most people as like, well, aren't you just more trying to be superior and judgy and hoity-toity? It's the way that actors get mad that they use influencers to promote movies now.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Everyone is just gatekeeping their own sphere.
Yep. All right. What would you like to see, cringe or cute?
Let's see the cringe first, actually, because it is a Met Gala related cringe.
Okay.
This is a video of Gigi Hadid. Thank you. Yeah, so they asked Gigi Hadid about a piece of art that changed her life, and she is speechless.
Yesh says Zegler was gleeking. Do you remember gleeking? I do.
Yes.
She so was. I want to know who the hell came up with the term gleeking and how did it make its way across the whole country without the internet?
Yeah.
Somebody should make that video right now of just making it look like she's spitting on people. All right, here we go.
A piece of art that has changed my life.
Any medium.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, I hate you for making me watch this.
Well, I will say that one time I got a piece of advice about collecting art, which is that you should always buy art that confuses you a little bit, because
that was a pretty decent pivot. She just didn't get to it quick enough.
That's what will keep you intrigued and keep looking at it and thinking about it. So I guess that kind of, I don't know if it changed how I bought art, but it takes the scariness out of buying art. You're like, if there's something that's almost like not right, like that's what will keep you into it. So
what's the piece that you've collected recently?
Oh my god, I hate you so much for making it.
Recently, I just got a piece that was made with recycled materials, and it's tomatoes. I can't remember the artist right now, and an artist named Amanda who painted me a floral piece. But I find a lot of artists on Instagram, and I buy a lot of art from young artists. So yeah.
Yikes. Yeah.
think
So the artist, by the way, that like made her recycled tomato, whatever the fuck that was, actually did find the video and thanked her for the shout out.
Wait, so she did actually buy? She wasn't making.
name.
Look, that's fucking fine. Who cares? Like, I mean, my question was more: does she actually buy art from people on Instagram?
I mean, I'm sure she hired somebody.
The
to do
funniest
that.
version of that is like she's in somebody's DMs and they have to like triple check to make sure it's not a fucking scam call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, is it this person, Harvey, that says, I'm the artist that made her recycled tomato piece?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Yep, she just couldn't recall the name. Happens to the best of us. We couldn't remember the name of papyrus font earlier.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a 20 here from Shane H. Wilder. He says, people don't like calling balls and strikes because it would mean that we are human, that we as humans are actually complex. Look at the Caravaggio painter of the conversion of St. Paul in 16th century sculptor. Is it Benvenuto Cellini? Who were both murderers.
Yeah, artists are usually not good people. They're usually not upstanding citizens. They're complicated and tortured. But we don't, I don't know. I guess people don't have the ability to separate art from the artist or separate $10 million from the person from which it came.
Cord in the chat says, recycled tomato art challenges me. Me too, man.
Yeah,
Me too.
really confused me when I saw that recycled tomato art.
All right.
That's how I knew I should buy it.
Andy Bobandy is an artist with these pictures of his cats. Says Carlos and his little sister Matilda, Tilly for short. Carlos was left in a box on the side of the road as a kitten. Then almost a year later, Tilly was found under a porch, abandoned as the runt of a stray litter. Now they're 3 and 4 years old and inseparable.
Beautiful.
Fun fact.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's a similar story to how Bucket got his name. I guess they found Bucket in a bucket.
Wow.
The people that down the street that own Bucket, who is the king of the neighborhood and is always walking around and following us everywhere we go. Now that I do as much walking and running around my neighborhood as I do, Bucket will follow me for at least a block before he turns back. And it's literally like the Toy Story "It's So Long" partner. I'm like, I'll be back later on my next lap around. So. All right.
He had a rough life.
Here we go. We got more stuff to get into. Let's talk about Sour Grapes Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa Barrera got canceled and just proved that she learned nothing from the experience. She did an interview with Variety recently to talk about her experience of getting so-called blacklisted after her outspoken views about Palestine. She was unceremoniously kicked off of the cast of Scream 7. And what followed was then Jenna Ortega dropping out of the movie, as well as its director. Spyglass at the time spoke to Variety saying, Spyglass's stance is unequivocally clear. We have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or the incitement of hate in any form, including false references to genocide, ethnic cleansing, Holocaust distortion, or anything that flagrantly crosses the line into hate speech. She rejected their claims, saying, I believe a group of people are not their leadership and that no governing body should be above criticism. I pray day and night for no more deaths, for no more violence, and for peaceful coexistence. I will continue to speak out for those that need it most and continue to advocate for peace and safety, for human rights and freedom. Silence is not an option for me. And for nearly a year after her firing, her offers completely dried up. Few messages of support came. She was in a dark place, overcome by the notion that she had lost the thing she loved most, the thing she had dreamed about as a child growing up in Mexico and during the years spent cutting her teeth in telenovelas. And then they launch into this interview where she's talking about how things have turned around for her, and she did start to get, messages of support. Maybe nearly a year on, she got several offers for movie projects, but in the meantime went on Broadway. And she said, I have this fatal flaw where I think I can do anything. It's my biggest strength and it's my biggest weakness at the same time. That's a great job interview line, by the way. If they ever ask you for, what is your biggest weakness, just quote Melissa Barrera. They won't know.
No, I'm just like, I just want to work too many hours, man. Like, I always want to be at work.
So, I'll say first the interviewer's question. You were really at the center of a storm when we last spoke. You had been fired from Scream 7, and your name was being dragged through the mud. Did you think your career was over? The pessimistic side of me was having those thoughts, but the optimistic side of me was like, F no, I'm sure the tide will turn. And it has, but because I was one of the first to speak up, to this day, there are still a lot of people in the industry who have a personal grudge against me. And they kind of run cover for her here. It was widely misreported that what you had posted. To this day, nearly every article about your firing states that you had shared a Jewish current story on social media, alleging that the Israeli government was distorting the Holocaust to boost the Israeli arms industry, labeling it anti-Semitic. But in that story, written by Holocaust scholar Raz Siegel, he writes, I have written about settler colonialism and Jewish supremacy in Israel, the distortion of the Holocaust to boost the Israeli arms industry, etc. He was listing previous stories that he had written, not discussing the current situation, and the actual story Siegel was referencing was about how the Israeli government allowed Bulgaria to whitewash their World War II history to secure an arms deal with the country. She replied, those people still deny what's going on is a genocide, so we're never going to see eye to eye on that. Mm-hmm. And they ask her, like, who's they, though? What do you mean by those people? I mean the people that accused me of being anti-Semitic and the people that run Spyglass, and they're wrong, just factually wrong. And then they claim that only women have faced backlash for being outspoken in support of Palestine. They say it's been rather gendered as far as the people who have had to face repercussions for speaking out against Israel. You were fired from Scream and essentially blacklisted. Susan Sarandon was dropped by her talent agency. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Maha Dakil was forced to resign from the board of CAA, and Miss Rachel is constantly under attack. Why are mostly women facing repercussions for this? She said, I have my theory as to why that happens, but one of the reasons that I wanted to do theater in 2026 is because I needed a break from all of the bullshit that is Hollywood. And I mean specifically Hollywood, not the film or television industry at large. I needed a break because I'm still blocked from certain places to this day. I have only a myopic vision of my own life, but I don't think anyone in the entertainment industry was affected the way I was. I was looking at the promotional poster for this new show, The Sweetest Kill, and the tagline said, she knew the cost, she did it anyway. And I was like, that's me. I became the face of it, and I didn't want that, nor should I have been. They say, your posts didn't seem incendiary. They criticized the Israeli government for its destruction of Gaza. She said, the specifics of my situation were like a perfect storm. I'm a woman of color in this industry. I'm on the rise, but I don't have a big enough name to be untouchable, so they can make an example out of me. I am well known enough that you can write articles and create all the clickbait propaganda that you need, but also not big enough that people are going to care enough or revolt or do anything in the industry for me. I was the perfect scapegoat. So it's kind of presumptuous to say that, other people in your industry are personally responsible for throwing you a life raft.
That was the part that I was the most frustrated about.
Assessment that you did.
Yeah. So it goes on, says, did anybody reach out to support you during that time? At least Jenna Ortega dropped out of Scream. She goes, that's not really the reality of things. I got
wait, is she implying that Jenna Ortega didn't drop out in solidarity and that she just dropped out for other reasons? She didn't really go into detail there.
She says, I got some messages. Yeah, like my thought is that if that wasn't the case, she would have at least spoke more highly of Jenna Ortega here, which she chose not to do. But
Yeah.
I mean, that could just be a side effect where she seems unbelievably self-obsessed. And
Well, but she goes on later, like in the piece, to list off by name all of the people that she wants to work with in the future who are like-minded and pro-Palestine, and Jenna Ortega is not one of the people that she listed.
But this is the part that bothered me. She says, I got some messages of support from people in the industry, but what I found is that private messages with no action mean nothing. Literally nobody in the world is required to help you when your life falls on hard times. And it is a positive thing for you to approach any situation that you get into, whether you believe it was of your own making or not, to look at it as your responsibility to find your way out of that situation and to not hold other people responsible for fixing what you have broken, whether what happened was justified or not. You know, like, I actually disagree with the idea that, you know, the spyglass bullshit about hate speech was, of course, lame. And
I do think that they misrepresented her.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. And I would be on her side if she wasn't so unbelievably bitter, self-important, and constantly focused on telling everybody about how everything wrong has been done to her. This could just be a thing, like, it's like when women and men have their differences in how they handle problems. Women want to commiserate and talk about their problems. A guy is going to offer you a solution to fix it and get out of your situation. Beyond that, maybe it's just because people don't really care to hear men whine about things in their own personal lives, right? That it just feels very self-important. This whole thing is self-important.
We'll get to this, but she even later says that she questioned God because of the hard times that had befallen her, and that her career was in this slump. She was like, why me? Why have you done this to me, God? And it's like the ultimate, like, if God real, why bad things happen moment. It just shows that
she basically says that in the interview. She basically says that in the interview.
They say, right, why couldn't they at least send a tweet or have the message be public? All of her co-stars, including Jenna Ortega. She's clearly pissed at Jenna Ortega, by the way. Like, she is throwing very obvious shade at Jenna Ortega for not tweeting something supportive. She said, exactly, I had faith. I was like, someone is going to reach out to me and help me. It's just a matter of time. You know who was the only person? Boots Riley. I love him. He reached out to me 10 months later. I had 10 torturous months of uncertainty and no work and suffering and not even knowing my team was on my side. It was terrible. And Boots sent me a message in August of 2024 and was like, I got a part for you in my movie. And he offered me a part in I Love Boosters. And for some reason, once he sent me that message, I suddenly had 5 messages with offers in my inbox. It's like he flipped a switch. I call him the wizard. The energy shifted and I got the Copenhagen test and did that because it was a longer job and I wanted to work and be back on set. And it was money that I hadn't made in a while. So I couldn't do the Boots movie, but I credit him because he's literally the only person in the industry who reached out and said, "Let me help you out." So
he offered to help her.
Even take the part.
No, this is the funniest part about this.
Choosy.
This is the funniest part about it. It's not about that. What she's not realizing, the hypocrisy of her statement, is she did what was best for her. Just like all the people who decided that they don't need to send a tweet for you did what was best for them. That's what everybody does. And the honorable people don't bitch about it when things go wrong once in a while. They focus on fixing their situation. And if we're talking here that the problem was that you didn't work for 10 months, but you weren't broke on the street, like, you're not going to get normal people it's not going to resonate with normal people.
Yeah, she also positions herself on a moral high ground compared to Javier Bardem, who is notoriously very outspoken in support of Palestine.
The hipster of Palestine.
For much longer than it was a trending topic. They ask her, do you think there's been a bit of a sea change in Hollywood around Israel and Palestine? No Other Land won the Best Documentary Oscar, which was surprising. You have Javier Bardem on red carpets and stages saying Free Palestine. She said, I love seeing Javier, and Javier has been vocal about Palestine forever. It's funny. I thought everyone must be getting affected, I'm sure, but I have a friend who works closely with Artists for Ceasefire who has access to a lot of these artists, and she gave me the real and said, no, Melissa, they have not been affected at all.
I'm looking
and so
at the
that's
names.
why they're able to be so vocal. So I thought it must be nice to be able to speak your mind and not have to suffer any consequences. But we do need their voices.
Cynthia Erivo is on this list. Ariana Grande, I believe I saw on this list. I saw Jenna Ortega. Her name was on this list. There's lots of names.
I'm sure
here.
a lot of the same names that are on the open letter against the Warner Brothers Paramount merger, for sure.
They overlap is very much a circle.
Yeah, the Venn diagram between those two is a circle. But yeah, she feels that she has suffered uniquely more than everyone else for her outspokenness on this issue. Going back to mostly women being targeted over this, I think that's largely been the case. Susan Sarandon was someone who has been affected by this, and she has been super supportive of me. She came to the opening of Titanic. This is the Broadway play that she's on. She is an effing icon. I love her. She's such a good role model, but now I'm here, and I'm so happy. And they go on further into this topic later in the interview. They ask her, does it feel like you're reclaiming Scream in a way? She said, yeah, a little bit. The reality is that Scream is always going to be a big part of me because it was 2 years of my life. It gave me a lot, and I'm grateful specifically to Matt and Tyler who gave me that shot. That hasn't been soured for me. They don't have that power. Then the interviewer adds in a little dig at the 7th installment saying, let's be real, the 7th one sucked. And Melissa Barrera says, I know. And I think they lied about the numbers. I don't think it made that much money. But at the stage door, I sign Scream things every night. People who love me from those movies are coming to see the show, and they can't ever take that away from me.
Those numbers are reported by the theaters, and this was the part of the article that said we should cover it, which is like, there is such a thing as like, do you not even understand how sour you sound to everything?
Or how your own industry works.
The copium is unbelievable for something like this.
How much did Scream 7 make reportedly?
So it made about $213 million.
Like globally?
Globally, it's on a $45 million budget, and they compared the actors coming back to crossing picket lines.
Yes,
because these people are insane.
Go into that. You were fired from Scream 7. Jenna Ortega didn't return. This verbal sleight of hand there, by the way, that she didn't return. It's not that she was making a principled stance in her own right. The director dropped out, but then Spyglass brought back cast members from the prior films. Did that seem scabby to you? Did it feel like those people were basically crossing the picket line? She says, oh, 100%. I think they all are. And they have to live with that. The only way they were able to make that movie after what happened was to nostalgia bait as much as possible. I can relate to what happened to you a bit. I was let go from a media job, even though I thought we were doing great work, and I struggled to understand why. She says, when you're doing something that feels like it's the right thing to do, and then you're punished for it, it really F's with your head. For me, I was like, wait, I'm trying to call out something that is severely wrong and evil, and I get punished for it? I get everything taken from me? What is the lesson I'm supposed to learn? I was even questioning God. What are you trying to teach me? Because I don't understand why the ones that are trying to do the right thing are getting punished, and the people that are like, la, 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 continue to rise. I don't understand this game. What is this? It was a rude awakening. I think, by the way, again, when she's referring to the people going like, la, 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 she is also referring to Jenna Ortega there.
Yeah, I didn't even.
It's still on the rise.
It didn't even occur to me until you pointed out after that a lot of it seems very pointed at Jenna Ortega. But also, as me and you have talked about extensively, Jenna Ortega has taken great pains to become a producer and to become involved in the movie making process beyond just acting. Because when you become a producer, you start getting a say in what gets made. Therefore, you create work for yourself. And Melissa Barrera just doesn't have the clout within the industry to do that. Though maybe she should have gotten Melissa Barrera like a cameo in Wednesday season 2?
Well, that's how Melissa Barrera feels, is that she deserves handouts for being a good person.
For not
trademark.
crossing the picket lines.
For being a good person TM. She expands on this, by the way, saying, it didn't make sense to me. What lesson am I supposed to be learning? Am I supposed to learn to just shut the F up? Some people that claim to follow the word of God are so far gone that they're unable to see how problematic what they're supporting is, like that they would blindly support someone like this president. We're living in a crazy, crazy world.
Well, it's a childish worldview to say that I do right thing, you do bad thing. I believe in good thing, you believe in bad thing. So she hasn't matured.
She did make unintentionally a valid point saying that the people in theater are much more politically outspoken than people in the mainstream entertainment world, which they're bad enough. But it's because they're not in it for the money. I mean, that's just not where you go in the entertainment industry if you're looking to make millions.
Correct.
And that's why she felt so much more at home once she started working on Broadway compared to Hollywood. But she's still intent on making her comeback in Hollywood. She announced in this interview that she is starting her own production company.
Yep.
And I'm like, with what money? With what backing? I don't really understand how that's going to work. But she is planning to only work with other people who are vocally pro-Palestine as much as she is. And she wants to first make a lesbian rom-com. Or rather, not even a rom-com. She made sure to point out it was no longer comedic. It's just a lesbian romance movie. I'm sure it's going to be a hit. And when they asked her who are on the list of people that you want to work with, basically anyone pro-Palestine. I kept track of the people who vocally came out and said something to defend me at the time. Susan Sarandon, Tatiana Maslany, Hannah Einbinder, Poppy Liu. Obviously, Javier Bardem would be a dream to work with. He doesn't need me to give him any opportunities, but yes, I have lists. I do believe the emphasis, on lists is just like, yeah, and I have a naughty list too, and Jenna Ortega's at the top of it. I do believe in building a network of people who are like-minded, and for me, this is chapter 2.
I don't think she can afford. I don't think she can afford Javier Bardem.
Yeah, it also seemed like she was kind of making some jabs at Javier Bardem too, which makes it seem like he's not in her good graces because he hasn't had to lose out on opportunities. Obviously, you don't know what's going on in someone else's life.
Yeah.
He easily could have lost jobs, and you'll never know the opportunity cost that you take on for being outspoken about something this divisive. I'm sure that he has taken a hit in his own right.
I don't think he has. I think he works, like in 2024, he had at least 3 productions in. He's a dude who's been working in the industry for so long, he doesn't need to do more than one thing a year.
Or he's like grandfathered in
Yes.
more than someone at her stage in her career. But again, you just never know who didn't reach out.
Yep.
Or who didn't offer you something.
But that's the thing, like we said, she's so enamored with her own suffering that she can't imagine the suffering of others. Especially, like I said, like she can't imagine that maybe other people didn't feel like they could speak on her behalf.
Well, it's not like that would have helped her in any substantive way.
No, it would not. All right.
Other than validation.
Let's move on. Pretty much everybody's struggling. Let's talk about the strugglings going on in the music industry.
Yeah, people are worried right now that live music is dying, and it certainly looks that way if you see the list of prominent musicians who have had to cancel tours this year because of low ticket sales. And they are coming up with a ton of excuses to distract from that fact, but the truth remains almost nobody can sell out a stadium, even an arena at this point. And the first example, most recent one, is the Pussycat Dolls, who announced a reunion tour that was going to go to North America and Europe. They had to cancel their entire North American leg of the tour, and seemingly, without saying it explicitly, admitted it was because they just couldn't sell out these venues. And this was their announcement on Instagram. Dolls, we want to share an important update with you. When we announced the PCD Forever Tour, we hope to bring the show to fans across the world. After taking an honest look at the North American run, we have made the difficult and heartbreaking decision to cancel all but one of the North America dates. And the only one that they did not cancel actually wasn't on the official run of the tour itself. It was a festival appearance for Pride. Because, I mean, we all know that gay men love the Pussycat Dolls. Like, that's a given. But they couldn't sell out arenas.
Before we get into this, you should give everybody the update. It was one of the other members wasn't able to get back in because of issues with Nicole Scherzinger. Am I right? Am I remembering that correctly?
So some of the fans were saying the reason behind the low ticket sales was related to the fact that 3 prior members of the group were not involved in the reunion tour. One of them, Jessica, claimed it was because of her support for Trump, which does not make any sense because Nicole Scherzinger herself is a Republican who voted for Trump. So really, it probably came down to a personal dispute. We're never going to know. I don't think that's the reason why they couldn't sell out these venues, though.
No, it's the
I think
Pussycat
it's actually a waning interest, sadly, in live entertainment in general, and this is hitting people across the board. There were other examples listed in this article as well as the Pussycat Dolls. Meghan Trainor recently had to cancel her tour and came up with the excuse that it was because she wanted to spend time with her family. This was her announcement. After a lot of reflection and some really tough conversations, I've made the difficult decision to cancel the Get In Girl tour, balancing the release of the new album, preparing for a nationwide tour, and welcoming our new baby girl to our growing family of 5 has just been more than I can take on right now, and I need to be home and present for each and all of them at this time. I know this will come as a disappointment to my fans, and I'm sorry to let you down, but I know this is the right decision for my family and me right now. I promise I'll be back soon, and I can't wait for you to hear this new record. I'm proud of it and endlessly grateful for your love and support always. So this was one that confused people. I'll mention, by the way, that this new baby they've welcomed into their family was from a surrogate mother. Just gonna mention that.
And they left that one off the description because when people hear that they welcomed a baby, they think that she needs to get back into shape, that there was a physical toll taken on her.
Interesting, though, you can hire someone to gestate your child, but not raise it. Anyways, I think people underestimate Meghan Trainor's commercial success because she's so cringy. She's like one of these artists that actually can sell a surprising amount of tickets on a tour like this. Like Pink, for instance. Yeah. Pink is like someone you think like doesn't have fans, but for some reason she can still sell out arenas. I mean, a newer example is Olivia Rodrigo. She can do stadiums, and she has a huge following of mostly younger fans. I guess that their parents are just rich. A lot of people are priced out of going to concerts these days. It's partly because of scalpers, but honestly, one of the main problems is because they're being overcharged on first sale. Yeah. It's not just because of resellers jacking up the prices. The prices are too high to begin with. These artists are probably getting an ego check when they book venues that are way too big, and they'd probably be more suited to theaters instead of arenas. So Trainor said it was her family duties. Zayn, also formerly of One Direction, had to cancel a tour in North America, but kept his dates in the UK, where he would sell out more easily because he's British. I mean, that's kind of a given, but he alluded to unspecified health concerns. And then Post Malone as well was going on a stadium tour with Jelly Roll opening for him, and he canceled the first, I think, 3.5 weeks of it. Yeah. Because he said he was too busy working on an upcoming album and had to push back the beginning of the tour for that reason.
We got
even
20.
Though he's maintained a handful of festival tour dates in the same time period.
Yeah, 20 here from Pop Culture Junkie says, to make the live concert situation worse, AMC Theaters is launching a new live concert business in partnership with Arena One to stream live interactive performances across hundreds of U.S. cinemas beginning in June 2026.
That's so like divorced from the experience of going to a concert. That's so soulless.
It feels like the last gasp of these theater companies that are looking for any way to branch out because just movie theaters is not enough anymore. Has to be an arcade and a bar and a speakeasy and a hostel, a bowling alley, a prostitution ring. It's
no, not a strip club, but it's gonna get to that point.
Yeah.
I think that's on the trajectory. They mention here sales for all of the aforementioned artists were notably weak, judging from a look at seating charts for those tours up to the point where they were canceled. Although Post Malone's sales for his stadium gigs did not look as dire as some of the other canceled tours. They also mentioned that Dolly Parton announced the cancellation of her Las Vegas residency. Those were all sold out. And she actually is quite old, so I believe that she was telling the truth, that it was because of health issues in that case. But there are even more examples. As I looked into this, they also mention another artist, Coulter Wall. He's a
never heard of
country
him.
Singer. Amber Mark. Then T-Pain was also on the list. The Rolling Stones, that actually surprised me because it's really those acts from like the Gen Xers and the Boomers like the most that do the best sales for live music.
Bums me out.
Their fans have the most disposable income. And Neil Young was on the list. Yeah. And so then I saw another list that had T-Pain, JP Sachs, Cardi B as well, Lauryn Hill. Who else? There were some of these artists that I hadn't heard of before. Santigold, Alessia Cara.
Those are
I had heard of her.
Yeah, T-Pain is interesting because T-Pain had a whole career revival because of Twitch and stuff back in the day, where he made millions of dollars, lost all his money, and then made it all back again with like a second career as basically like an influencer / musician.
I'll tell you an artist who definitely could sell out a stadium tour, but is being prevented from doing so, and it's Ye.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to kick off a European tour.
They keep blocking him.
His concerts are getting canceled against his will, not because of low ticket sales, but because the venues are, I guess, boycotting him. I don't even know what that means. They're getting pressured to cancel his events. It says Kanye's upcoming concerts in both Poland and Switzerland have been canceled as a growing number of European countries have stopped or postponed his performances amid a furor over past anti-Semitic comments.
I don't think it was the venues. I think it was the governments were actually preventing him from entering the countries, if I remember correctly.
This is a private group, I believe. It says in Switzerland, at least, Swiss football club FC Basel, which is responsible for concerts and events that take place on its St. Jacob Park grounds, told Reuters on Saturday that after reviewing a request for Kanye to perform there in June, it decided against it, saying, "We cannot, in accordance with our values, provide a platform for the artist in question within this context."
Yeah.
That was quite a word salad response. And then in Poland, they said they would cancel his upcoming concert in June after the Polish Culture Ministry announced that it was seeking to bar him from performing in the country. That sounds like a government organization. The concert by Ye, scheduled for the 19th of June 2026 at Super Auto Silesian Stadium, will not take place due to formal and legal reasons, said the venue director.
Vague.
In a press release, yeah. Their culture minister in Poland said that his promotion of Nazism was in manifest contradiction with Poland values and condemned him as an artist who openly declares that he loves Hitler and promotes Nazi ideology and makes money by selling t-shirts emblazoned with the swastika. In a country marked by the history of the Holocaust, we cannot pretend that this is just entertainment. So, I mean, Ye could easily make these countries and these venues a lot of money. He has organic popularity and could sell out a stadium tour in the snap of a finger, but they're not allowing him to do so because he's still blacklisted even after issuing multiple apologies and trying to have a redemption arc. It's not being accepted.
Yeah.
But with the rest of these artists, it sounds like there is just genuinely a loss of interest.
I mean, the economy is bad too. People can't afford tickets, even on first purchase, let alone second purchase for most of this stuff. There's just no market for it. And that, I mean, they've had the discussion, I think we've talked about it in IRL, that there's less interest in the act of going to concerts than there was before, which is weird because we covered a few times the fact that Gen Z is the ones bolstering theater sales right now. They seem to be the ones that are most interested in going to the movies. There was an article released today from Variety that was talking about the viewing habits, saying like Gen Z is the most consistent, where they will buy a streaming service for a month and then cancel, which, you know, disposable use kind of indicates why they want to go to the theaters, right? They're not going to watch stuff multiple times or to have it on the back burner. They want to experience it and then move on. So theaters makes perfect sense. You would think concerts would fall in line in that same avenue.
Yeah. It's, of course, more accessible to Gen Z to buy a movie ticket than a concert ticket.
Why?
By far. I mean, a concert ticket, especially if we're talking about some of these bigger acts, is like 10 times more expensive, especially when you count in parking and the incentive to go with a group of friends who can't afford it either.
Yeah. And
drinks and concessions. And it's just not accessible to them.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I think it's both a lack of interest and a lack of accessibility at this point.
All right, let's move on. This one's worse.
Yeah, this is maybe a little bit dark. Women are speaking out after they claim their long-term boyfriends and husbands got brainwashed by the manosphere, and this ruined their relationships. This is something that we did discuss, I think, sometime last year on the show, because in mostly anonymous accounts, they were saying they started out in these relationships with guys who seemed totally normal and well-adjusted, and then they suddenly started consuming content from manosphere influencers, and that included, you know, some disparate influences. Andrew Tate is a solid example of someone who would be called a manosphere or red pill type influencer, but also more mainstream podcasters like Joe Rogan. And I think that's a stretch to call him part of the manosphere. All that makes him part of the manosphere, I guess, is that the majority of his listeners are male. And he's not, you know, a feminist. That's pretty much it. But also they list people like Sneeko and Myron Gaines as other examples in this new piece from the New York Post. They interview one woman who is willing to attach her name to this, and the rest of them are in ongoing divorce legal battles, so they are not able to identify themselves. The rise of Manosphere Divorce. Meet the women ditching their Joe Rogan and clavicular-influenced husbands.
There's literally nothing, there's no overlap between the type of content that Clavicular is making and the type of content that Joe Rogan is making. Like, there's nothing in their topics, because Clavicular's a lie. You know, he's a IRL streamer who basically just does a bunch of degenerate shit in front of people while somebody films him. And Joe Rogan talks about what Bob Lazar and aliens, and sometimes criticizes whoever's in power in the government, depending on the day.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to place them in proximity to each other, especially because Joe Rogan has a much larger following, like by far. And as we've already shown, Clavicular's following is mostly made up of like bots and paid contractors who are hired to clip his streams. But nonetheless, women do not like Joe Rogan. That is true. I think we covered this back in 2023, actually. There was a survey that found 55% of women list listening to Joe Rogan as a red flag in a potential partner.
I think that was the crux of the article that we covered before, was the huge amount of people that saw somebody as kind of neutral or mainstream as Joe Rogan as some type of, like, if they're not allowed, if the dude isn't allowed to listen to Joe Rogan, who the fuck is he allowed to listen to where it's not a red flag?
Well, the recurring theme in all of these examples in the article is that the man in question, at least according to, you know, this side of the story, he reaches a point of perhaps quarter or midlife crisis. He has an identity issue and a loss of confidence, and uses content from the manosphere as a self-soothing mechanism. They say, from toxic masculinity podcasts to divorce court, manosphere ideologies are leaving a trail of broken marriages, according to legal experts. When Annie Kim's then husband made an off-color comment about how changing diapers was a woman's job, she thought he was joking, but it turned out to be the tip of the iceberg, and she believes her husband got sucked into the universe of the manosphere. At the time, 5 years ago, Annie Kim was working as a travel nurse, picking up long shifts during COVID, and this is the key, supporting her ex-husband during his doctor's residency in Los Angeles. But as she got busier with work, she alleged that misogynistic comments about her appearance, how wives belong in the kitchen, and how lucky she was to be with him mounted. So in this scenario, she is the one in the relationship who is working full-time while he is studying, and she is financially supporting the both of them. But at the same time, he's making these comments that are totally disconnected from the reality of their lifestyle.
Yeah,
that she shouldn't work.
The thing about the comments,
wait, what?
The thing about the comments is, like, she wasn't a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
She was a working mom who actually put him, I guess through what, grad school or something?
They did not have kids.
Okay.
But still, she is a working wife who is supporting her husband totally. She is the breadwinner. And yet he is making these comments while he's being supported by her income.
But he's not hearing this from Joe Rogan.
No.
Like, that's the problem with all this, is the framing.
Detail. It was a huge switch in his character. I remember thinking, I don't even know who you are. She believed that her former spouse's alleged change in behavior stemmed from a period of career uncertainty and from his consumption of male-centric podcasts like the Joe Rogan Experience. She alleges that during this time, he also began investing more in his appearance, buying grooming kits, styling his hair, dieting, and running. Things that would normally be a sign of, you know, self-improvement, that you would be becoming happier as you improve these aspects of your life. But I think that the Joe Rogan podcast is the only one he was watching with her around. Perhaps there were other things that he was watching without her knowledge. Wait,
so you think the idea here is that Joe Rogan has the bad luck of being the one where it's acceptable to listen to him while she's there. Yeah, therefore, the stuff he listens to when he's in the car by himself is the stuff that ends up he takes the blame for that, because he once interviewed Zuby or something like that, and Zuby said something about personal responsibility.
Yeah, because that means Rogan gets scapegoated for things that he never said, ideas that he never propagated. Eventually, things reached a breaking point. After only 2 years of marriage, Kim asked for a divorce, to which she claims he said in a condescending tone, "I'm a white surgeon. You're really going to leave me?" For context, by the way, she is Asian. I guess that's why he made mention of his race in that discussion. Very bizarre. He wanted a wife to take care of him. He would say things like, "You should be cooking. I don't understand why you're getting takeout." I was like, "Because I'm effing tired." He wanted the 50s housewife, and I was working full-time and supporting him. Post reached out to Kim's ex for comment. I think that's quite invasive. I don't think they should have done that. He responded to say that he wished her well in her pursuits. So maybe we're just getting the wrong side of the story.
Gave him the old WWE, we wish you the best in all your future endeavors response.
Experiences like hers have become more common in recent years, with an uptick in the last 12 to 18 months, according to New York-based attorney James Sexton. Many blame the growing influence of the Manosphere, a network of influencers, podcasts, and online communities that promote masculinity, misogyny, and rigid ideas about gender roles. Controversial, self-styled political influencers like Sneeko, who has been chastised for deeply offensive and anti-Semitic views, reach millions of male viewers with content often framed as satire, but primarily centered on male dominance and status. In the recent Netflix documentary Louis Theroux Inside the Manosphere, his impact is evident as he is mobbed by young men in New York, eager for selfies and fist bumps. Others, like Myron Gaines, co-host of popular male self-improvement podcast Fresh and Fit, which has more than 1.5 million YouTube subscribers and is a major fixture in the Manosphere, promote alpha male ideology, often through antagonistic exchanges with female guests. Targeting insecure men, looks-maxing influencer and streamer Clavicular has also built a following of almost 600,000 Instagram followers by promoting extreme, often dangerous ways for men to improve their physical appearance and build their confidence. I think it's probably doing the opposite of that in practice, if anyone is following his advice in reality. James Sexton, the attorney, explained that this pervasive forest of people online, combined with the algorithm, makes male consumers extremely confident in their beliefs, which a therapist who works with men and couples describes as a perfect storm. He says this mix of fragile identity and social isolation makes it easier for men to fall into this trap. They don't have a fully formed sense of who they are, and then they find solace and comfort in the Manosphere because it starts to explain to them why they feel this way and gives them something to blame. Mm-hmm. And while the content varies in extremity, the effect is often the same, and the shift doesn't always announce itself. Instead, divorce attorneys involved in manosphere-influenced breakups say it often begins more subtly. Mm-hmm. No one is saying, "I've been influenced by the manosphere." They're saying, often to their wives, "I want respect," or "We don't share the same values anymore." Now, that sounds like a lot of conjecture.
Well, plus, like, saying, I guess, what I want respect, he said it in a rude way or something. It's completely normal to actually expect to get respect from your spouse.
It's hard to tell how much of this is actually related to Manosphere content because they're citing comments that sound much more stereotypical of that content, and then other comments like, "I want respect."
You can't even argue that they're using a good sample size because they're listing poor examples. Clavicular doesn't fall into that mold. He's something completely different for a completely different audience. The people watching him are younger. They're not the married surgeons. They're people at home with no job, or they're people who are paid to clip his content for kick. And the people watching Joe Rogan aren't getting the message that they're describing there. The part about the reels is probably accurate, where the hottest of hot takes end up going and being cut up into reels, probably not from episodes of Joe Rogan, probably from episodes of the Whatever podcast, Fresh and Fit, anything from Myron, stuff like that, probably is. And there is something to be said where it's like, look, the person you married, the point I made before this show started was that women have been fed feminism their entire lives. So the chances of you marrying a woman who is not a feminist and then like 2 years into marriage suddenly starts quoting Anita Sarkeesian or something like that, I don't know. I was trying to think of somebody off the top of my head. It's not very likely, right? If you met her, she was probably a feminist when you started. You went in eyes open and married a feminist knowing that's who it was. With the men, this is a fairly new phenomenon, so they're finding these dudes who are promoting them ideas that ran contrary to anything they'd heard before they got married. And
there is some truth in the asymmetry that you're pointing out there, but I would say that there are men, primarily like elder millennials and Gen Xers, who might actually have started dating and then married a non-feminist woman who, with the adoption of smartphones and social media, then became exposed to those ideas in the 2010s and went nuts.
So prior to the... Okay.
Yeah. People who got together before, you know, the mass adoption of social media as we know it today.
But it's not happening with
Might have
millennials.
seen that happen. But that was, I mean, it's been like, you know, 10, 15 years since that happened. So, or maybe if you got with someone before Trump became a politician, like I'm sure that affected a lot of relationships in both directions. Yes. But this is a much newer phenomenon that they're noticing. And the people that are analyzing it don't really have firsthand experience engaging with this content, so they kind of paint it with a broad brush. And it is relevant to something that you've pointed out before, Brett, which is that men in this society that is suddenly equitable were never taught how to behave when suddenly everyone is on a supposedly equal playing field. And there's, you know, that a woman can do everything a man can do, but better. Well, what do men do then? And it's not just that they're insecure and they're detached from reality. They're actually reacting in real time to men's esteem in society getting incinerated. And they don't know how to react to that. I can't exactly blame them, you know, across the board on a mass scale for, you know, reacting to that perhaps by like finding people online who are willing to speak on it and acknowledge that that's what's happening. They have been disempowered and they're reacting to being disempowered. Like that's just the reality of the situation. But they're saying in their individual lives, maybe this is related to their, you know, their wife's career outpacing the husband's career. They say some men fall into cycles of resentment. This is according to another attorney, leading the men in question to want somebody who is more traditional, maybe somebody younger, who will allow them to be the alpha male. And they cite another example who is anonymous, Rachel, 40, who asked to use a pseudonym because she's in the midst of a divorce, said that her reinvented alpha male husband lost his sense of reality. She alleges that her soon-to-be ex spends hours and hours scrolling on reels, engaging in online arguments, claim that he confirmed as a result of suffering from depression and an escape from their marriage. The social media owner said that her estranged partner was constantly seeking validation through comments and likes, all while his behavior became more aggressive and abusive towards her. Her ex denies these allegations, citing contention on both sides, but her claim is that he was controlling. This is a weird one. I wasn't allowed in the kitchen. I also didn't do the laundry right, but he never did the dishes. The day he moved, he left me in a mess because he had 18 half-finished projects going around the house. And they said they confirmed that that was true in messages between the couple before they split up. Instead of actually looking at themselves and going to therapy, these men are turning to platforms and thinking, no, I'm right, and those women are wrong. I think they're mistaken to point to therapy as a solution to this problem. Because, you know, if they had just turned to probably male mentorship, male friendship, self-improvement in its own right, and maybe even intellectual development without social media algorithms involved, the problem would have never arisen. But they aren't getting... Like, I would say it's a mistake to blame the podcasters and the influencers for giving men these deranged feelings of being insignificant and being diminished. No, they are being diminished. They are increasingly being displaced in academia, in academic institutions. That's just one example, but also the workplace. Their necessity in women's lives has all but disappeared. And they're reacting to that. And that's the first step. The social media influencers that they find talking about this online and perhaps using that as their launch pad for other ideologies, that's the second part of the story. That's not the beginning. So we're not really like getting to the root of how this starts. They're just kind of blaming Joe Rogan and Clavicular and Andrew Tate for all of this. Another woman who asked to remain anonymous experienced this firsthand in her marriage. She had been with her husband for a decade and married for 6 years, described their relationship as having more love than she had ever experienced. But in June of 2025, she recalls her husband starting to question his identity and what he wanted out of life. This guy, I think, is one who decided he wanted to open their relationship and did not have that pan out the way he planned.
That's the same. I mean, that's like, imagine you're the woman in that situation and you hear that the same way the parts about how she was talking about, and then he started being obsessed with how men look in their face. Like, imagine you come home and the dude's like hitting himself in the face with a hammer. You're ostensibly living in a home with somebody you never understood, right? So.
Yeah. She says she was initially supportive of his need to explore himself, but the issue was where he turned for answers. She also mentions Joe Rogan's podcast, but again, I think that's just because he listened to it in front of her. And also she said it was related to conservative content on Twitter. After telling her that he was in therapy, she claims that she later discovered he had actually spent thousands on high-value men influencers guised as relationship therapists. They probably go by life coach online.
Which means he sold him a book.
You can't legally call yourself therapist.
Sold him a book, like one of those course books and
e-courses, stuff like that. That's a real thing. So he was lying about going to therapy and paying these grifters instead. She said during this time, he was reworking his image and asked ChatGPT for weight loss advice. He became obsessed with what makes a man attractive, facial composition, and what doesn't make you high value. He also got wrapped up in status symbols and spent tons on luxury cars and trips abroad in pursuit of a version of success that felt increasingly disconnected from their life. As a newly self-described libertarian who favored individual freedom and limited government intervention, she recalls that her husband pushed to dissolve their legal bond. Still, he wanted to maintain some sort of relationship with her.
Ooh,
now, I think that's a cover for I want to go screw around with other women and then keep you around at home on the side. And this is going to be an open relationship only for me. And you'll stick around to see if I ever am loyal to you. She said, I went from a human woman who was in love to seeing the world through the lens of who his therapists were valuing. I believe in love, and you can't quantify that. There is no price tag on it, which is ultimately why I couldn't be with him anymore. I'm not an investment. I'm a partnership. And that's kind of the framework and the lexicon of relationship advice from the Manosphere and like red pill content, talking about it as if it's related to fungible tokens, like your return on investment.
They are both speaking.
What do you bring to the table?
They are both speaking in buzzwords and terminology to each other. So she's going to be talking about gaslighting and whatever her therapist is telling her the proper language is, and he's going to be talking in, what do you bring to the table, and high value man this, whatever that, Bugatti.
But before we wrap this up, I just want to mention that Andrew Tate is kind of on these women's side. He responded to the article, actually to a quote tweet about this article, saying, the only reason that women are leaving these men is because they're acting like they're Andrew Tate without his money. Well, imagine your wife being tired after a 9-hour shift at work and coming home to a man smoking a cigar telling her to shut up.
That was the
issue with the Manosphere is it got too many average dudes thinking they have a right to treat women like shit. Unless your girl doesn't have to work, gets to go on shopping sprees and fly first class, you're in an average relationship. She will leave you. You are not a high value man. She can find someone to replace you. Don't be delusional. Just be happy. But I mean, I would add, you don't actually have a right to treat someone like shit if you're rich. And
the idea,
the type of person who will tolerate being treated like shit for shopping sprees is not the type of person that you want to marry and have children with in the first place if your priorities are in order. But Andrew Tate responded to this guy and said that he agrees with that take.
The idea that you can expect the dishes to be done when you get home is one thing if you're the one paying the bills. The idea that you both get home at the same time and ask the same question is insane.
But I just don't think it serves anyone, you know, tax bracket aside, for you to spread this message that being rich gives you a right to be a dick to your wife.
No,
like,
his terminology,
right,
what he's saying is they'll put up with it. He's saying that they will put up with it.
It gives you leeway.
It's inherently dehumanizing from the offset because it's not about whether you're treating her well. It's what she will put up with to deal with the things that you can also provide her, which is already bad advice.
But a woman who will put up with that for money doesn't love, care about, or respect you, which is important. And also, being a dick to your wife just isn't fun and makes you more miserable too. So there's really no incentive, regardless of how much money you make or whether you're the breadwinner or not, to act like a cigar sucking like dickhead with a huge ego. There's just no incentive to do that. And Andrew Tate half agrees with that idea.
But the thing is like any rational person would have made that connection from the beginning, but they don't give the disclaimer when they start listening to that content, and they're not introspective enough to realize that their situation doesn't mirror that, however bad the advice is of the people that they're talking to.
Yeah, and I mean, if we were to talk about the mirror image of all of this, which is basically the feminist version of the red pill, those women are totally detached from reality too.
We've got a 20 here from Manic Mustache. Late as usual, but apropos to giant pandas not being a real panda, if you treat dating like a job interview, you will have a better chance of finding someone who is going in the same direction in life. I think that's marriage. Stay toxic, my friends. That's about as positive of one as we've ever gotten from the Manic Mustache.
I don't know if I totally agree with it. I mean, I think like enjoying being around a person also matters, but
yes, it does.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. Okay, let's get into these super chats. If we don't have any 20s left.
No, you're good.
Right? Okay. Burned Oils said, Mary, people in the chat were really disappointed that you put me in super chat jail over me saying that you say coffee in a very heartwarming way. They said that was a very low point of yours. Wow. I didn't know that. You're telling me this for the first time. Well, if you really want to go there, Burned Oils, it might have been related to you talking about my menstrual cycle earlier in the episode. So how about we just don't do that anymore?
I think that that's a low bar to set.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder said Turner learned from his mistakes and devoted TCM to showing movies commercial-free and uncut as people would have originally seen them in theaters.
That is a good thing.
High Voltage 75 said, Mary, did you hear the news? Delta Airlines says no more Pretzels as they are canceling their snacks for all flights under 350 miles. Thoughts? I only care about getting the beverages. If they still come around with the bev cart, I'm good. If they don't give you a beverage, then I would be mad about that. But 350 miles is a really short flight, right?
I was going to ask what that was. Like, what is that? Like, what is that distance wise? Like, can you think of an example of like a flight that would be?
Thank you. Probably like a 5 or 6 hour drive that would end up being around then.
There's some new viewers I can see here because I think we got like rated by Tim somehow. I didn't even know you could do that on YouTube. But if you're wondering what the hell that was, you see the meter at the bottom there, the crisis meter. For every $100 in super chats, you get a crisis party. That number's up there at the top. I figure out where to point. Right there. And that's how we get a crisis party. So every time we get to that point, we had just cycled through one and have since got super chats, which is why the number is now growing once again. So if you're new and that freaked the hell out of you, that's why.
Nice. Okay, Weary Traveler said put a Mary on.
Mary is on. Jeff Welsh in the chat says Timcast brought me here. Well, there you go. Jeff Welsh in the chat. That explanation was for you, my friend. That is the manic situation that we are in every day. We get a comment at least once a day now that says love the show, hate the crisis party. It's for the live audience, and we love our live audience. So it stays.
You're gonna have to deal with it.
Yep.
Sorry. Brian Bledsoe said PCC is truly background noise today as I wait in the virtual waiting room for Star Wars Celebration 2027 tickets.
There's still people going to that.
I can't believe that.
I mean, you know,
good luck.
We'll have to see what Mandalorian and Grogu does box office wise. But even if it did better than like the 70 to 80 million that they're predicting for the domestic release of the movie, that's not high enough when you think about the brand that Star Wars is.
No,
it's just not, especially in 2026. Inflation, the dollar doesn't go nearly as far. So
Shane H. Wilder said, I knew Ted from creating TCM. My dad loved watching TCM on Saturday afternoons. I think that is what gave me my love of old movies and cinematography.
Perfect. That's awesome. It's cool to hear stories like that. Again, I'm going to read more of that article. I got about halfway through it, and I was just kind of fascinated at the life that Ted Turner had lived, because I had only really heard of him in the context of the creation of CNN and the way people would bring him up when I would watch documentaries about the Monday Night Wars between Vince McMahon and the guys over at WCW. Of course, that's because it was owned at that time by Ted Turner. So
Pat the Plumber said, no channels pump out police procedurals more than TNT and TBS. RIP, Mr. Turner.
I had a post at one point that was like, everybody knows I talk about the USA Network, but let's talk about the unsung heroes of the matter, which is TNT and TBS. There are a lot of them. The Closer was one of those, I believe, along with Major Crimes. Those were great.
High Voltage 75 said, RIP Ted, creator of WCW. The one alternate company that was able to give real competition to WWF and force them to up their game.
That is 110% true. Likely we wouldn't have gotten what WWE is now. Granted, people would probably prefer that because everybody fucking hates it now that TKO owns it. It would have never reached the heights that it did if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, they talk about competition breeds creativity and it breeds competitive spirit. So wrestling went down the gutter for the most part, outside of the ruthless aggression era. Like, once the competition was swallowed up, it was worse for everybody.
Shane H. Wilder said, try Super C. It's vitamin C, zinc, and magnesium. It's a horse pill, but the zinc and magnesium help you absorb the vitamin C better. Get better, Mary. Thank you.
Fingers
I'm really
crossed
starting to
feel
feel
better.
it now. I'm like losing my voice slowly but surely, but we're powering through.
We're almost done.
Corey Anderson said Jane Fonda is commie trash. She deserves the worst. I don't know. Is that true?
What was it
I'm
again?
not really paying attention to Jane Fonda these days.
Didn't we already read that one? Oh, no, we read a different one.
It was a different one that said, username I'm not going to read said, actresses out here looking like Dwight wearing the CPR dummy's face. Yeah, that's kind of what it was giving. Katy Perry's fencing costume as well. That was odd. We got these 20s earlier.
Which ones? I believe we got them all.
Okay. Burned Oils said, Brett, your eyes too close is actually what makes you look unique. You will just be a random dude if you get your eyes made to be normal. Get Botox in your forehead instead.
I can do that.
Okay, I don't like that ending. Let's not tell Brett to change his face, okay?
That's okay. There have been plenty of negative comments about my appearance in the chat today. I respect each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Shane H. Wilder said Apocalypto did well, and it was in Yucatec Maya. I don't even know how to pronounce that because it's a dead language, but yeah, that seems to be a Mel Gibson thing. Robert Delara said, it looks like Rachel Zegler had eye surgery with that bandage across her eyes. I know it was a reference. I mean, it's the whole theme was that, you know, you're referencing artworks. I forget which one it was, but yeah. Corey Anderson said, historical/classical art is beautiful and inspiring. Modern art is trash. Study the Italian and Dutch masters and follow their lead. I mean, I share your like for classical art over modern art, but also you got to distinguish between modern art and contemporary art. And usually when people talk shit about modern art, they actually are referring to contemporary art. Like, I'm pretty sure the Portrait of Madame X by John Singer Sargent would still count as modern art because it was made in the modern era. But
is that what you said yesterday? That was what Mrs. Bezos's outfit was based on?
Yeah, Bezos. Well, there were actually, I think, 2 or 3 other women who also did the same reference. So that was kind of boring that they did that. But, you know, she's like dressing up as a reference to this highly controversial, gossiped about socialite in her own day, in someone who's like mired in scandal. Makes perfect sense why Lauren Sanchez would wear that. Robert Delera said, right-wing people donate to the arts. They just don't publicize it like left-wingers.
Then they should. They should. Like, they should actually use the platform to promote the fact that they're donating to it so that they can start. Look, you see the posts all the time, depending on how much you're on X. Matthew Marsden will always talk about how, like, it's impossible to get movies made if you're a right-wing filmmaker. Nick Searcy has talked about this extensively. Kevin Sorbo, all those guys, Dean Cain, have talked about, outside of like the religious films that get made, which are of varying levels of quality, there isn't a strong hunger for the right to promote art because they see it as frivolous. And if they are doing it and staying silent about it, that is a mistake. And they should find, like, there's a reason why they're talking right now about Saudi Arabia and all of these countries that are making movies and trying to move into the comedy market as a play for soft power. America's #1 export, more than anything, is culture, or at least it used to be in a lot of ways. So the idea that it's not important is silly, and they should be doing more with it. They should.
Yeah, I believe Brittany Hugaboom, who runs Evie Magazine, has also spoken about this because she had to build that publication from the ground up because she believed in it. And she said, you know, when you look for investment from people on the right, they are notably, you know, very suspicious of the value of something like a fashion magazine or a movie or a TV show or anything in that vein.
And it would be so easy to stand out now. Like, it would be so easy to stand out because me and you've talked about whether it's Penske Media or any of these companies, whether you're looking at Vogue or Rolling Stone or Guitar Monthly, I don't know if that's an actual magazine, they're all talking about feminism. They're all talking about the same things. Rolling Stone is writing more was probably written more articles on George Santos than they have. Who saw the thing about Eric Clapton, who got moved down the list of the greatest guitarists of all time because of his take on COVID? These people are insane.
That's real. No Control said, I found my cat Wally in a wall. If that's true, I love that. That's beautiful. Corey Anderson said, seems Melissa Barrera can sympathize with Gina Carano, but I doubt she would because she is a see you next Tuesday.
Yep.
Very true. And I believe Gina Carano probably got actually blacklisted in a more real sense than Melissa Barrera ever was. Weary Traveler said Brett does light skin face for his crisis party dance.
Correct.
What is that?
I have no idea.
What is light skin face? Someone needs to explain this to me. Robert Delera said, when you say Melissa Barrera, I say who? Well, by her own admission, she is still not famous enough for anyone to care about her. The Rolling Stones tour is sponsored by AARP. That's genius. Is that actually true?
I have no idea, but I hope it is.
Wait, no. Hold on.
Double check.
Is the Rolling Stones tour sponsored by AARP? Oh my gosh, it is. That's true. It is.
Makes perfect sense.
the official sponsor of their North American tour in 2024. Yes. Yeah, that happened. All right. Corey Anderson said, nah, they just suck. I just saw All That Remains. Phil was the shit. So was Born of Osiris and Dead Eyes. Great effing show. Tate and Charles were great. Def recommend.
I heard that, or I saw that Charles was crowd surfing, and I said I would have loved to see a picture of that. That's amazing.
Why didn't anyone record that? I would have loved to see that.
There should have been pictures.
Shane H. Wilder said she calls out all the people she knows and then asks God, why you let bad thing happen? I is famous. I'm so sure Job has nothing on her suffering.
Well, also,
Job
like,
would never understand.
Right, like writing all of this about how awful it is and how awful it was that nobody helped her. Like, who then is standing up after the fact to go and help her? Like, well,
Yeah,
you
like,
criticized me before.
Thanks they get.
Yeah.
Even the guy who she says like offered her the role, she blew him off. Shane H. Wilder said, every time I've seen Alice Cooper, he sells out. He insists on tickets being affordable. His opinion is he doesn't need the money. It's for the fans. Yeah, I mean, I think musicians often say stuff like that. I'm not saying it's Alice Cooper, like virtue signaling, but on the younger side, like younger musicians definitely love telling their fans that they don't care about the money and trying to prove that they're not making a profit on anything.
Yes.
But you should make a profit. You should.
No,
and there should be no shame in wanting to make money off of your music.
That's the argument that they make on Kickstarters, right? Where they make like the pie chart to prove to you like all the money is going to the project and none of it's going to the people because heaven forbid people make a living. But the point is for Alice Cooper, it might be in a lot of ways, maybe in a lot of ways it's for the fans, but also they're performers and they love to be on stage. And I'm sure for a lot of them, they feel like they're no longer at home when they're not out performing.
Brian Bledsoe said saw a Metallica concert in a theater a couple years ago, and after all the delays to get a ticket a while ago, I'm going in person to the Sphere concerts. They're doing the Sphere? Wow. I wouldn't really want to go to the Sphere. I think it would make me nauseous. Corey Anderson said Alex Cooper is the biggest red flag. Well, we were talking about Alice Cooper. I don't know if you got confused.
I think this is because of the Manosphere discussion.
Oh, so call her daddy is like Joe Rogan for women?
It's nothing like Joe Rogan for women. It's fresh and fit for women, maybe. Or whatever for women.
But I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. There's no version of the whatever podcast where it's a female host and they bring on a bunch of men that they can get into arguments with.
That would be hilarious, though.
Because the woman hosting the alternate universe feminist whatever podcast would be like, why are you yelling at me? Weary Traveler said, put a Zin in. Don't worry, I already have. Got you covered. Boss N said $2 for the correct Ghost Girl and Brett. You guys rock. Thank you. Shane H. Wilder said, as a member of Knights of Columbus, we really just need a return of good fraternal organizations. It would be a good thing for both sexes. Okay. Couldn't agree more. I think that would probably be one of many solutions to these problems. The Manic Mustache said, late as usual. Oh, I think you already
got that one.
Pop Culture Junkie said, Mary, hope you feel better soon. Enjoy your soup. I most certainly will. Yes. And I'm going to eat my chicken noodle soup and watch Frasier and just look at the overcast sky. It's going to be awesome. Greg Duvier said, I like tortoise and the left lane is for crime.
I like tortoise and tortoise.
Not tortoise. Tortoise. High Voltage 75 said no snacks or drinks on Delta flights under 350 miles. Do you think other airlines will follow suit?
Probably.
Gosh. I mean, if you think about it, they are cost cutting like millions by making that change, I'm sure.
Maybe they'll bring it back when fuel prices go down.
We don't have Spirit Airlines anymore. Yep. We don't have sparkling water. on Delta flights anymore.
There was like a trend within hours of Spirit Airlines going under of influencers making skits about Spirit Airlines, all filmed outside.
Saw some of them,
I sent you one on Instagram. All of them filmed outside the gate of like what had to be LAX or something, with a perfectly framed Spirit Airlines jet still there. So it was like a bunch of influencers all went and filmed, kind of like that picture of AOC fake crying in front of the kids with cages. Like they were all filming side by side of the same jet.
Yeah, I also saw this really annoying guy trying to convince people to donate to his like Spirit Airlines 2.0 venture. He wants Mark Cuban to back him to be the next owner of Spirit Airlines when they auction it. Like, I don't know. This is just... I never went on a Spirit flight personally. Have you ever been on a Spirit flight?
I don't think I've ever been on a Spirit flight. Maybe.
Yeah,
like,
I never bothered because of the baggage fees.
How long has it been around?
Take a carry-on. The 80s.
Okay,
I think.
It's possible I took one maybe when I was younger and I don't remember it, but I don't remember having any like. If it was true, then the whole Spirit Airlines experience would have been like some horrifying flight experience. And most of mine have been generally good outside of some delays that I've experienced. But I've had pretty good luck with flying.
I never would have booked it just because they have insane baggage fees. So, Greg Duvier said hostage party. We're having one
kind
right
of
now.
in that right now.
Shane H. Wilder said Dali is considered modern art, but not contemporary. Yes, exactly. Moon at Noon sent us a sticker, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Anderson said, I would say Portrait of Madame X is classical. The YouTube channel Deco Art is amazing. She breaks down art and provides a lot of background info. I'll check that out. Well, I thought that it was modern if it were in 1895, but maybe it has to be 20th century to be considered modern. Weary Traveler said Brett's first crisis party dance of the day was light skin face. But you're not telling us what it is.
I don't know what that means.
Okay. Corey Anderson said Charles was surfing and when security pulled him down, Phil gave him a high five. It was great. The Timcast crew are fantastic and personable. They are. High Voltage 75 said, I, as a live viewer, don't mind the crisis party. I just wish you would change the damn song more often.
Yeah, I'll do that someday. I mean, if people, like, what do they want? What do you want for the next crisis party song? I'll have to...
We had a good idea for it, though, right?
We did at some point. What was it? It was like somebody released a song. Was it like the...
It was the Amanda Bynes
song?
Yes. Can we do that?
I'll see if I can figure. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. Get that figured out.
It's a banger. Corey Anderson said Joe Rogan is dudes hanging, smoking weed, and talking. Yeah, it's a pretty normie show. Like it's about as normie as you can get. Shane H. Wilder said, "Sorry, Corey. Madame X is modern art. The modern era is from 1860 to 1970s. Then we get into pop art and contemporary art." Ha! So I was right. Gotcha. Shane H. Wilder said, I'll say a prayer to St. Blaise that you don't lose your voice. Get better, Mary. Thank you. I much appreciate that.
Yeah, you don't want to end up like in the position I was in where I was literally out for, almost 2.5 weeks or something like that. And then when we came back, still coughed constantly.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I already feel better than I did yesterday. By the way, I think I got the blessing of the throats. Like
what?
That's a thing. Yeah, I forget which feast day it is, but yeah, you can go to your priest and get a blessing of your throat. So I always do that because, where would I be as a podcaster without it? I also convinced Phil to get it because he's a singer / screamer. So.
Okay. Your microphone cut out. Got to replug it back in there. Mic cut out again. Okay. I will finish up the super chats here, at least until she gets her microphone back on, since it's the best time. I think I heard it come back there. You good?
Am I back?
You are good.
Okay, it keeps doing that, and then like, I think unplugging it. I'm on a delay now.
Yeah, it rectifies itself. We've like people always say like check the drivers. We have updated the drivers on your setup.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
really know
Yep.
what's the solution here.
Yep.
Pat the plumber said more emotes, Brett.
Yeah.
I want more emotes.
Yeah. I should do that.
Can there be a bucket emote, or is that?
Ooh, that's a good idea. Holy crap.
Okay. Brian Bledsoe said, did Nolan popularize the lack of color grading?
I mean, I don't really think that that's true. I mean, like, what movie are you specifically talking about? Like, the Odyssey looks extremely dark, and Oppenheimer was dark because it was a period piece, and it was the whole movie in black and white. I don't even remember. It's been so long since.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
No.
No? Were some of the flashbacks or some of like the committee member scenes in black and white or something like that? Look, when you go back and you rewatch The Dark Knight, the colors in The Dark Knight are a little bit more not flat, but they're a little bit grayer because of the crime drama. It kind of fits the tone of it. But if you go back to Batman Begins, for instance, more comic book heavy. There's a lot of orange, especially in those scenes in the Narrows and things like that. I don't think Nolan would necessarily be the one to lay that at the feet of. I think it's a cost-cutting measure that's done by studios that are pushing out slop. If Nolan wanted to like make the brightest color, now you could make the argument that Nolan's responsible for like bad sound design, which a lot of people accuse him of, not being able to understand what the hell's being said. But I don't think he's responsible.
I kind of noticed that in Oppenheimer, but
yeah.
Figured I was the problem. Corey Anderson said, I disagree, Shane. I think anything like that painting can't be contemporary because it's elegant, beautiful. The story about the painting is interesting. Well, it's not contemporary, it's modern. So contemporary comes after the 70s. So it's and it's not bad just because it's modern. Like there's a lot of great modern art if you actually know what years that refers to. High Voltage 75 said, I flew Frontier once during COVID, empty plane, but the most uncomfortable plane seat I ever sat on. I think I went on a Frontier flight at some point. Shane H. Wilder said, the blessing of the throat is St. Blaise. So it must have been his feast day, but I don't remember when that is. I need to make sure I get mine.
All right. That everything?
I think so.
All right.
Unless I'm not seeing the update.
If it comes through, we will come through with the rest of them before we're done. But guys, hit the like button on this episode, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. Like I said, there were new viewers here. So if you are new and you have not watched this show before, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And subscribe to the channel if you are new here, so that way you can do it. We would like to have you back tomorrow. Remember, we're live Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Mary, where can they find you?
You guys can send me validation on Instagram, that is Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X, that is also Mary Archived, and help me get TikTok famous, that is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. You guys want to follow me? I am on Instagram and X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you'd like to listen rather than just watch this show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's a great way to help us out as well. Thank you so much for that. Hit us up on social media at popculture_show, Facebook at popculturecrisis, Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.